the Parsi Gara came about because of the trade routes, where the Parsis of India traveled to China and discovered these beautiful textiles being embroidered for the European market. And the legend is that one of the Parsi traders asked the Chinese embroiderers to do it for their women. And like 5.5 yards or 6 yards of a sari. And obviously they didn't know how the women draped the saris. So the initial pieces were more like tapestries and beautiful artworks like wall hangings.
The Gen Z is all about nostalgia, I think.
Yeah.
They're doing it better.
Hi, my name is Akshita and Bhanj, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Travel+Leisure India and South Asia. To mark our first inaugural craft and culture issue, we decided to sit down with two stalwarts in their space to discuss everything craft culture community and to really dive into why this is a timely issue today. I have with me today Ashdeen Z Lilaowala and Indrakshi Pattanaik. Indrakshi is a national award-winning costume designer and fashion stylist who's worked on extensive period dramas like Mahanati, Marakkar, and Loop Lapeta. She's also been someone who marries blends of cultures with, having roots in Orissa and Bengal, and we can't wait to discover more. Ashdeen is obviously famous for his eponymous label, Ashdeen, which revives the Parsi Gara and looks at it more as traditional revival, but with a lot of reinvention with contemporary storytelling. Ashdeen has also worked with the Ministry of Textiles and UNESCO and the Parzor Foundation to be able to understand and study the Parsi Gara across India, China, and Iran. I'm so happy to have both of them here with us and learn more about culture, craft, and everything handmade today at the Ashdeen store. So I'd like to start off with my first question to both of you to ask you what has been a place that inspired your love for craft and culture and storytelling for the work you do?
It's the way I grew up. I grew up in West Bengal and watching my great grandmas and great mothers and all the women in my family and also the men. Like everyone is very confident about wearing the handloom out during the festivals. And that's definitely been where it all started. I cannot not mention them.
But Ashdeen, you come from the other side of India, but you've traveled to very interesting places. Something I found very unique was your travels to India, China, and Iran to actually, with the Ministry of Textiles and Parzor Foundation, to understand the history of the Parsi Gara. So I'd love to hear more about how travels have inspired you.
As a young, enthusiastic textile designer, I traveled to these very exotic places. And I think it was to trace the roots, R-O-T-S and R-O-U-T-S, and kind of see what the symbolisms and how motifs, etc., traveled. And we think that today we are traveling, but obviously in the past also a lot of cultures, a lot of identity movement. There was a lot of movement of motifs, of different kind of textile techniques, etc., which traveled. So there is a lot of beautiful synergy between the two cultures, Iran and China, though they don't seem anywhere similar. And I think for me, Iran was an eye-opener. It's a gorgeous country, beautiful monuments, beautiful textiles. They have an amazing culture of carpet weaving. They do beautiful weaves, etc., block prints also. And a lot of textiles from India also travel to Persia. And today a lot of motifs which we look at are part of all our cultures.
And I really like what you said is that, that Indians haven't just started traveling. There's been a history of travel because of migration or war or rebellion or sometimes just out of influences and interest. And we were speaking earlier where I said, where do the colors come from? Because purple was associated with nobility. There have been other colors influenced by, femininity or masculinity. But what Ashdeen said was they all have a scientific basis. It's because of trade or like something physically being there. And then you realize that even within South Asia, we've had a history of travel that has been influenced by, and which has then influenced craft and then gone on to influence culture.
And I think also when people travel for trade, they took their gods, their religion, they traveled with something which was their identity. Then that identity got absorbed in some other, culture. And that kind of then became a trade textile, which, people were traveled with or sent or exported and imported. So there's always been culture which has moved from city to city, continents and across, and the different routes, like land routes, have created different communities and different textiles, whereas the sea or trade routes have created different textiles. So there's been a lot, and the Parsi Gara came about because of the trade routes, where the Parsis of India traveled to China and discovered these beautiful textiles being embroidered for the European market. And the legend is that one of the Parsi traders asked the Chinese embroiderers to do it for their women. And like 5.5 yards or 6 yards of a sari. And obviously they didn't know how the women draped the saris. So the initial pieces were more like tapestries and beautiful artworks, like wall hangings. But then slowly when the women traveled, they kind of realized, and they kind of influenced the craft heavily to choose motifs, to kind of choose the placement, introduce a border. Parsi women wear it the Gujarati style, wear the long pallu and they tuck it at the back. So every corner was left empty so that, you could tuck the sari easily. So practicality comes in, a lot of, realization what colors work for the community, what don't. And there's always favorites. And so we always favored purples, reds, magentas, blacks. And so there were lighter colors were rare or something like that. Then it matched with the jewelry, things like that. So I think as a community, we created an identity with the trade we were doing. And there was an affluence growing in Bombay. So it kind of came about through that. So it has a lot to do with historical references, what it was at that time. And obviously, no fashion or no trend lasts forever. So at some point, it does go out of fashion and things like that. So, and then it comes back.
Indrakshi, you worked, like I mentioned, both in the South and the North. And you're from the East. But which has been a project you worked on where you felt the body of research actually led you to discover a lot about that place, a community?
Mahanati, I will never not deny that, because the research was everything. Being not from South India and trying to understand such deep, going back to we started the film at 1920s, and there was hardly any documentation of Madras, of South India in general, the way Bombay and say West Bengal is documented thanks to the film culture, and there's not documentation and photography done there. The people were more conservative there, and there was not that much of photography done of their lives that we have access to. So there was a lot. I did a full-on social media campaign, because the lady Mahanati Savitri, whose biopic we did, she's a very iconic, legendary, known for her kindness, and really has changed many people's lives. We still don't know so many. People reached out to me, and basically I did a campaign where I asked people, can you please show me pictures of your great-grandparents and their childhood, if you have. And they all reached out. So my email got flooded with pictures of people sending me of their family.
That's so lovely. What did you discover about that place and that destination through that film?
I definitely saw the blouses remain consistent, but the saris changed, So while in the before independence, the fabrics of the saris were all handloom, and the dyes were all earthy, and then post 50s and 60s it became more colorful and more vibrant. And then also women traveled, women were working. Like our actor also was working. She was traveling to Bombay, and she was becoming friends with Bombay actresses, female actors, and they gifted her saris. Say a Parsi friend gifted her a sari. So she was wearing a Parsi sari, like a chiffon sari, or, with the South Indian blouse, like the very conservative, fitted, like as if it's almost like magnetic. It's like stuck to her. So if she was going to the race course, she did wear the Parsi sari or the chiffon sari just for the fashion and the headpiece and the cool glasses, but she did wear her silk Kanjivaram blouse.
I wanted to ask a question. In what ways do you think fashion today reflects a revival of regional identities and artisanal traditions? And where I'm coming from for this is, Travel and Leisure has this beautiful supplement called Weddings and Honeymoon. And you'll see year on year, the industry is growing, but there are certain ways that I feel like the pendulum always swings back. And this year, I feel there's a way that not just brides, because I think a wedding has the whole family involved, are looking at traditional heirlooms. They're looking at where they come from, what stories bind them to their history, what that says about their community, as well as always a contemporary look at the world.
Yeah.
What's commentary do you think fashion has to make today on the revival of regional identities, as well as this homage that people would like to now pay for artisanal craft? Yeah.
So I think there are two things to it. One is that there is a certain sense of identity, and people are really proud of their identity. Somewhere it had gotten muddled or something, and people were wearing homogeneous kind of Indian identity. Not bad, but today I think regional identity is sticking out, and people are very proud of that. And also that today there is a lot of referencing, there's a lot of storytelling in social media in various forms, like somebody does a very cute thing about their village or something, and it goes viral, and people are like, oh, I didn't know about this. So today information, the way it's being fed, it's also absolutely global, regional, everything. At the same time, it's global and it's still very regional, and it could be very specific. So I think that has kind of opened people's minds, and kind of this idea that I can do what my community did and do it my way. So you don't need to follow a trend always or something, and it can kind of be lovely. So, and there's a lot of today newfound, what can I say, respect for tangible crafts which have been done all through. And then new textile exhibitions, there are people who are traveling for textile exhibitions. Like I traveled all the way to Hampi to see an exhibition, and it was the most wonderful thing to see textiles in their own kind of, rhythm and space, and in kind of their own environment where it was made. And it gives a context to who is wearing what, why are they wearing, what are the colors, how does it reflect in that geography there. And today craft is not like a bad word or an auntie thing, like associated only with like your mother or whatever. Today girls want to kind of connect with their brides. Everybody wants to connect with their culture in some way, and kind of have fun with it. So I think that's where the shift has started. In Kutch, the vibrant colors were all turning pastel because they were working for people abroad. How would it be for a market abroad? Today you have the market in India, you have your community markets, and so things are vibrant, it's natural, and the artisan or the craftsperson gets his own identity.
I really like what you said that about one is having a regional identity and a market for that identity now. And I feel like there are so many ways that, especially with the climate we have today, that actually India is realizing that our own homegrown market is expecting a level of quality that takes craft from being something that may have been considered, a little bit on the side, to a very mainstream conversation. And I also feel that's because of how now well-traveled or multilingual and multifaceted we are, because of we're being able to see this on our channels, on our papers, on our magazines. In that vein, Indrakshi, do you think when you take on projects, there is a sense of, because you do a lot of period, but of course it's a wide variety of period. So do you think that there is an expectation, or there's more of a demand of, we would like to see an untapped destination, what can you uncover from here? Or for example, it's a little more of an unknown craft or a costume that we'll have to recreate. Do you think there's been a bit more of a depth in ask and understanding something that marries craft and culture for characters? Yeah.
When I say a period film, it's just full of nostalgia. Why do you like the period film? Why, as an audience, why do you enjoy it? Like, I'm talking not just an Indian film, even our beautiful Hollywood projects everywhere. I mean, they are really inspiring. And we enjoy it because we feel that connection. So it's very important for me to actually travel, to actually go to these local places, whether inside India or abroad, wherever it is, to actually find that authentic piece.
Do you think the industry is demanding that from you, or you are informing it? Do you think that the power shift is both?
I think it's both, and it's also my responsibility, and I owe it to the homage that we're doing as a film, and and I mean, also the place that I stand in, and I mean, I'm literally recreating and respectfully recreating somebody's life, say in a biopic or a period of time in whichever country. So it's very important we try to, at least, if not be able to recreate, we actually have to understand the art of it and then recreate it of our own.
Right.
And he was talking about the brides. Yes, from my experience recently, like I feel like the young brides, they really want to wear their grandmother's handloom. They want to recreate their grandma's photograph. They want to, they want to do that. It's already happening in China. They want to recreate those photo shoots.
Oh, those photo shoots.
Yeah. It's a big thing, and the Gen Z is all about nostalgia, I think.
Yeah.
They're doing it better.
They're doing it better.
We had nostalgia growing up as a millennial. But it was a little like, I don't know. I don't think it was given so much thought the way the Gen Z is doing it. Like, I feel there's more,
There's
quality.
platform
There's a book.
put it out there.
Yeah,
So I think
storytelling. The current generation is actually, I mean, our 2025, I will say, there's a mix of 80s, 60s, 20s, everything is here. And it's all at our fingertips. It depends on you, how you take it, what identity. Yeah.
When people used to do craft tourism,
Yeah.
there'd be in our heads, we'd understand in the hospitality space, there's a certain maybe demographic who's not interested in that. And you would say places like Rajasthan and Kutch kind of topping that list, maybe Varanasi as well. But there's a sensibility that, someone understands handloom, or even if it's handicrafts, etc., where they would like to go to see ceramics or pottery, etc. I think now that's completely turned on its head. Now I see much younger demographics interested in going to lesser known destinations, whether it's even sitting down with a potter and understanding, Longpi pottery in Manipur. There are very interesting places where we've known about Dokra and Patachitra and Kalighat paintings but even if you go to Baro Market, the kind of people who are coming for a regular art fair, for India Art Fair, who are now traveling to Hampi to be able to see Kochi Binale happening this year. And if you look at who's interested in getting those tickets, it's a generation who may not have always grown up on understanding it from the books and the theory, but they see a relevance for it because I think it brings in some authentic storytelling. That's what I'm saying, that everyone wants to be different now, and there's a way to...
I think today you easily connect with craftspeople.
Yeah.
Like who are sitting wherever in the world.
Right.
You can be wherever in the world. They have an Instagram platform.
Yeah,
Instagram.
exactly.
And
That is
just
true.
kind of connect with them directly. So
That's true.
you're not going through a middle person or something.
Yeah.
And you can just have a conversation, take it forward, go buy something. I could today connect with craftspeople in Japan. I can connect with somebody, say, in Africa or in South America as easily as, today, because there are accounts, there are numbers, access, everything. So, and everybody puts out what they do onto the web or onto the platform, social media. You can write your story, you can tell stories. So even through our brand, we are constantly saying that we want to tell stories of the community, we want to tell stories of the places which it happens, or the Parsis are involved or something like that. So even like Bombay, then, villages in Gujarat. So everything is a mix, and it's a lot about telling your authentic story.
As we wrap up a really interesting conversation, a quick rapid fire round for both of my panelists. Okay, quickly, one word for how craft makes you feel.
Happy.
Indrakshi?
Home.
Oh. A place you go when you need inspiration.
Books.
Museums.
Heirloom you treasure most.
My grandmother's hand-embroidered sari.
Wow.
The jewelry and all the heirloom in my family, plus also stuff that I collect in my sourcings. From every movie, I keep something back, like watch or a sari from Mahanati. I have so many, and I keep them. It's like part of my life, and also dolls. I'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that later. Okay, complete the sentence. Handmade is?
Priceless.
Is love.
If your journey had a fabric, what would it be?
A fabric or difficult, maybe a gara. It's a lot of storytelling, so maybe that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's the question. Katha. Because it would be like I could sleep with it and also wear it and know everything.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been really fun and insightful, and I think leaves a reader a lot to think about. And I'm really happy that we did this craft and culture issue. I think it's important, it's timely, and it brings so many voices we otherwise wouldn't have heard from.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take it.
Thank you.